beautiful.
There's so many interesting places to stay in Paris, we really didn't know like what neighborhood to pick. So the way we figured out where we were going to stay was we looked up a bunch of restaurants and thrift stores and buildings that we wanted to see. So in the center of all those pins was the historical district, Les Marais.
We really enjoyed how centralized Les Marais was. The Notre Dame was just across the river from us. There was plenty of thrift stores about northeast from us. Really great food options within our neighborhood. It was a really laid-back feel, but also had a nice nightlife and dinner options, and it was wonderful. Les Marais is really unique because it's a part of that historical quarters map. So if you look at it in terms of districts, it's actually half in District 3 and half in District 4.
So the district map, I think, is one that most people are familiar with. It's where you'll see people reference like the numbered arrondissements, and you'll see people refer to them. I think they go like 1 to 12 or 13.
Transportation into the city was very easy.
The first train we took was the Orly-Val airport train. And then after that, we took the B train all the way into the city and got off at Châtelet-Les
One of the funniest parts of this trip was that scooter ride down the river.
So we were at the catacombs seeing those, which were actually ended up being closed. So then we took scooters over to the Eiffel Tower, and we had our picnic there and everything, and then by the time we got done, it was dark out. So then we walked down to the river and saw like the scooter rentals, and they're really easy. There's just a couple of companies that run them in Paris, and all you have to do is download the app, scan the QR code on the scooter, and then it unlocks it for as long as you want to use it.
The view was absolutely stunning at night because you would see the river all lit up and the Eiffel Tower sparkling in the background.
The scooter ride actually ended up being really fun because that sidewalk path along the river transitions from like normal pavement to really, really old brick paved stones. So you'd be riding down the normal concrete, and then all of a sudden it would turn into like these really old rounded paved stones.
And your arms are so numb. You can't feel anything anymore, and you're just like,
That was definitely fun.
So one night we were walking after dinner and we happened to look down a random street and we saw just 5 rings glowing in the distance. So come to find out, it was the closing ceremony of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, and so they passed off the Olympic duties to Paris 2024.
So one of the different things that we did there that we don't normally do was a food tour.
One thing we've realized throughout all of our years of travel is we typically stay away or avoid the group guided tours.
We knew that there was a bunch of really good places to check out, and so we thought that would kind of be a way to like cheat and figure out what like really recommended places were really quick and just knock them all out in one day.
If you guys want to learn more about that food tour and the things we did and ate on that tour, please check out our other video. We decided to stay in an Airbnb while we were in Paris, in Les Marais, and it was a really nice 1-bedroom, simple apartment, not much to it, but it had beautiful French door views opening onto the main street.
And I think that was the biggest thing that brought us to wanting to get the apartment was we knew the area that we wanted to stay in, and that got us the closest, whereas the hotels, we couldn't really find one that was in the right area. So another thing that we really liked about the neighborhood was it had like a very young vibe, and you definitely saw that in the evenings when you were walking around and all like the corner brasseries were filled with like a ton of people that were out just like having drinks with their friends and stuff.
I think brasseries are really neat because there's a lot of small tables stacked next to each other and all the chairs are facing outwards towards the street. So it's a wonderful place where you can just people watch and enjoy the street life.
Yeah, that was one thing that I didn't ever realize that I really liked was they don't have you sitting across from the person you're eating with. You guys sit shoulder to shoulder and both watch the street, and I really enjoyed that.
It almost felt weird when you transitioned back to sitting across from each other.
So the Brasseries in the evening was also where we discovered the Aperol Spritz.
For anyone that doesn't know, Aperol Spritz is 3 parts champagne, 2 parts Aperol, and 1 part soda water.
It's like this fluorescent electric orange color, and it just looks like so refreshing.
And it's always served with a slice of orange in it, and it does not disappoint. So one of the evenings we were out kind of late. It was probably around midnight, and all of like the kitchens had closed, and we were getting Aperol Spritz, and then all of a sudden we see people next to us ordering food. A waiter comes over, and we're just like, what did they get? We want that.
So he goes away, and then he comes back with like this clay dish, and he sets it down, and it's a huge piece of lasagna.
So the waiter explained to us that every single day the chef makes a huge pan of lasagna, and any leftovers they'll just warm up every evening for anyone that wants it after the kitchen closes.
So one night we were walking around, and we kind of like were just wandering the neighborhood, and we got definitely off the beaten path. And we looked down one alley, and we saw this really interesting restaurant. We sat down, used our phones to kind of like check out the menu. So when the waitress finally came to our table to take our order, I pointed to steak tartare on the menu, and she definitely looked kind of surprised, and I think she thought that we didn't know what that was.
So for anyone that doesn't know, steak tartare is raw ground beef mixed with like a raw egg and onion.
And then she pointed to a hamburger on the menu, and she was like, no, you know, that we should order that, like the hamburger. And she just kind of like looked at me and like shrugged her shoulders, and she was off.
And she comes back with the steak tartare. She sets it on our table, and she's just like, surprise, and then walks away.
It was really good. It came with like little bread points, and then you put like a little bit of the steak tartare on and then eat it, and I thought it was really good. It had a very like silky texture,
and it was quite flavorful too. I was very happy we tried it.
Definitely recommend it. Yeah. So one of my favorite meals the whole time we were in Paris was at Le Charlot, and we got to mark another like food item off our bucket list. It was escargot.
So for anyone that doesn't know, escargot is just snails, and they put like a green basil.
It's like maybe like a basil sauce.
Like a basil sauce or something on it. And you usually eat them. You just kind of scoop out the snail with the sauce on it, and then pop it in your mouth.
It's definitely a little different than eating like mussels or clams or oysters, things like that. It'd be more similar to eating like oysters Rockefeller, where the oyster's broiled. It was very like meaty texture. It wasn't slimy at all. And then the sauce that was on top was like so good.
So the other thing we had during this lunch was a liver pate. But I think what really set this one apart from the rest was they did an apple puree on the side of it.
The apple puree wasn't super sugary and it wasn't super sweet.
Together it was a perfect combination.
And then for dessert we got the creme brulee. I really liked how it had like a really crunchy like caramelized top. It was very good.
And then we finished off that experience with 2 cups of espresso. One of our most unexpected meals was we were wandering back through the streets, just getting back to Les Marais, and we happened upon just this wafting, delicious smell of a bakery.
It was a huge, long counter that this lady was standing behind with all kinds of stuff. So we got a baguette sandwich, and I think it had tomato and cheese and ham on it. And then we got a couple bakery items.
And for me, the baguette sandwich was just so perfectly done. You could tell like she went to the back and grabbed it out of the oven fresh, and then it was perfectly crispy on the outside, soft on the inside, and then just the perfect combination of the 3 different ingredients to just make such a simple but well done sandwich.
So one thing I really got used to when we were there was our morning routine. We would wake up, walk to the end of our street to the bakery, and the lady always had fresh croissants made, and she had an espresso machine, so we would get a couple of croissants and a shot of espresso.
The perfect way to start the morning. So just getting to watch like the hustle and bustle and people getting out, going to work, grabbing their espresso, grabbing their little croissant or pastry item. What was your favorite croissant?
Probably the almond croissant. They were always so good no matter where I got it from. How about you?
Well, just the plain, buttery, flaky croissant. Wafting, delicious smell of a bakery.